Good afternoon and welcome back to my channel. This video is going to be an introduction to a tool build that I will be posting within the next few days. It's too hot to actually build it right now because I'm in Texas at the moment and it's over 100 degrees. I am not going to do any work in that temperature. But this video is going to show you all the parts that are needed to make the tool, and basically you won't need the exact same parts, but something similar, whatever you have on hand or can get that will work in place of the parts that I have. Parts I have is what I'm using because that's what I have. But this is going to be the introduction of the tool build, because I am building a thickness sander, and this is going to be the parts needed for it. And since I am parked right now, pardon the movement, because I'm going to grab parts that you'll need to make this tool. So give me a second while I move stuff out of the way. Hold on. Sorry about that. Had to dig stuff out because I had it put away so I could drive, but my load was changed on me. So instead of picking it up today, I'm picking it up tomorrow. But this, like I said, is going to be the tool, the parts you'll need for this tool build. Now, first up, obviously, you need an electric motor. Now, this is a 1 horsepower, 1700 RPM motor that I got from Farm and Fleet up in Chicago. And you'll also need a shaft coupler or some pulleys, because this is actually a fan motor. It's not really meant for power tools, but since I got the coupler, I can use it this way. This way the motor itself will be the main drive shaft instead of a belt and pulley system. Now, you could use a belt and pulley system, but the design that I'm using, you'll want to use the motor itself as the drive shaft and put the shaft at the end in the coupler. Now, this motor has a half inch diameter shank. Now, I've got a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inch coupler because the shaft I have for this motor is 3/4 inch in diameter. And you'll also need if you're using the same size shaft that I am, you'll need a 3/4 inch inside diameter sealed bearing for the opposite end to support the shaft so that it doesn't wobble when making it. And you'll need a feed belt. Now, I made this one from, as you can see, 5 strips of 3-inch. Sorry about that, had a call incoming, but this is made from 5 strips of 3-inch wide 120 grit sandpaper that I cut from a 35-foot roll, and then I just glued it together and used fabric glue and glued it to this sheet material to make this feed belt for the conveyor belt. Now, I'm not going to use a motorized conveyor. I'm actually going to use an old hand crank drill to use as, because I will be able, instead of trying to find a small electric motor to use to motorize the feed belt, I'm going to crank it manually, but instead of doing it by hand at the like this, I'm actually going to put an old gear crank hand drill, because I have two of those. One of them I'm going to use as a drill. The other one I'm going to use for the motor, for the feed belt, is I can crank. It already has the hand crank on it, so it's easier to use that and just attach it to the shaft of the feed belt roller to turn the feed belt. Now, another thing you'll need is either a log made from 4-inch diameter discs from a 3/4 inch thick piece of MDF, and then you sand it true, or you can do what I'm going to do and take some PVC pipe with 1/4 inch thick wall, cut out 2 inside diameter, which these are about 4 inches inside diameter, cut out 2 plywood discs that size, glue them in on the end, and drill. Make sure that you drill the hole bigger to accommodate your shaft, because my shaft, as I said, is 3/4 inch and it's all thread. It's easier to use this than it is to find a shaft that actually is meant for this, because in my area and what I do, it's not easy. But this I got from Lowe's, and it is 3/4 inch diameter, all thread, 3 foot long. Now I don't need the full 3 feet. I'm going to cut off about maybe 4 inches of it, because I only need a 24-inch length for the drum itself. So I need one end for the bearing and one end for the motor, and enough to fit a 20-inch diameter drum on it. Then I don't have nuts for this yet, but you'll need 2 nuts and washers to go for your shaft, so that you can secure the drum in the middle, in position where it's going to go. And then I have this 1-inch diameter, because it was what I had at the time, with 2 washers and 3 nuts. This is going to be the motor crank for raising and lowering the drum. Now again, I don't need the full length. I'm going to cut some of it down, because you really don't need to raise the drum sander more than like 4 inches max. That's the maximum you would need to raise a drum sander for thickness for guitar bodies or guitar parts, is you rarely have anything over 2 inches tall. So this is going to be the hand crank for raising and lowering the drum on from the material and the belt. Now the washers, this bottom nut is going to be what raises and lowers the motor, because I'm going to have this secured into the main body of the drum sander material, which I am using plywood and some pre-dimensioned birchwood lumber. Now that's all buried over there, so I'm not going to dig it out, and you can see the Purple Heart for my great guitar build off guitar. This is what I need to finish with the drum sander, because I need to get it flat, and I don't have a planer, and I don't have time or a sturdy enough bench to plane it by hand, because I don't have proper feet for that bench. I have this folding workbench that I have the Purple Heart sitting on top of right now, and that is not sturdy for hand planing wood. Now I have a good bench top that I secured to that with bungee cords right now, until I build feet for that top, and then I'll use sandbags to hold the feet in place so it stays sturdy until I build a regular bench. But this is temporary, for being mobile. This is what I have to use. Now, like I said, this bottom one is going to be the raising and lowering mechanism. And these top two nuts and the washers is going to be used to make the crank handle. Because this one, I will have a crank at the top to use for raising and lowering. Now, like I said, this is 4-inch inside diameter and like 4 1/4 inch outside diameter PVC pipe. Now this is 2 feet long. I'm going to cut it down to 20 inches length, because that's all you need for, because I'm making a 19 by 36 inch open-ended drum sander, similar to the Jet drum sander, but this is going to be made from scratch. And the Jet, obviously, it's $1,500 to buy it outright, and like $300-400 something used. So since I can't find anything used and I already had most of the parts for building this, I'm going to build it myself and use this. And like I said, I'm going to use 2 discs on each end of plywood that I will have a notch cut out at the top, opposite ends. Let's say I will cut a notch here on this end, and the opposite end on the opposite side on this end. That notch is going to support a block that will secure the sandpaper to the drum. Now, after that, you also need, this is for the feed roller shafts. Now, granted, I don't have the screws in here yet because I still have to cut the plywood inserts for this as well. But these are 18-inch by 3/4 inch, basically sewer pipe or plumbing pipe that have a bicycle inner tube on the outside. That I bought a box because I saw this in a YouTube video of somebody else building the same design of a drum sander, but I have different materials and a different kind of motor than what they had. But this is a 20-inch diameter inner tube cut to length and then put around the pipe. I got 2 of these because you need 2 of them for the roller. Now, those are the main body parts. Obviously the plywood and MDF and birch pre-dimensioned lumber. Now inside here I've got all the individual parts for connecting. Now you need some wood screws for securing the wood and plywood together that you're going to use to make the housing for the drum sander. Pardon the noise. But you'll also need 2 6-inch all thread. These are 1/4 in diameter and thread count. And you'll need, I got 3 nuts on here, but you only need 2. Sorry about that, allergies. But I got 3 nuts on here, and you only need 2, and 2 washers. You need 2 of these. This is going to help with your feed belt tensioning system. This is basically for alignment. Now, other things you'll need. Pardon while I dig these out, because I'm storing these in an old mason jar so they don't flop around all over the truck when I'm driving until I build the tool. Now, okay. Now, other things you'll need is you'll need some angle brackets, and this is for putting some gap between the main platform of the drum sander and the conveyor belt, so that you have room for the conveyor to actually do its job. Now, these will be secured with wood screws to the plywood or the pre-dimensioned birch lumber that I have. I'm not sure which one I'm going to use. I got 2 sheets of plywood here that I could use that are 3/4 inches thick, but they're not Baltic birch plywood. They're birch plywood, but they're not Baltic birch. Now, you also need 4 screws. These are also 1/4 20 washers and nuts. This is going to be basically on the main body. You're going to have some feet sticking up away from it that these will be attached to, and they will be attached like this on the wood with a gap in between. Granted, this is going to be 18 inches apart because that's how wide my belt is, but the screws themselves will actually be facing up, not down, or they might be facing down. I haven't decided which way I'm going to do it, but they're going to be basically like this, so that this top portion that the screws are going through is going to secure the feed roller belt to these feet and keep them level. So that way you don't have to adjust the belt side to side. Once you get it lined up parallel with the bottom of the drum, because you don't want to secure these down to that until it is parallel with the drum. You're going to build the drum main drive section first before you put these on the platform. But that way they are lined up correctly. Now, you'll need 4 of these, 4 screws, washers, and nuts to go with them. Now, you can get whatever size screws you want, but I'm using 1/4 20, and because that's what fits in the holes for these brackets. Now, there's that. Then, you'll also need, pardon me, while I dig these out, you'll need some knobs with some T-nuts. These are going to be for holding the tensioning system in place. Once you get the feed roller belt tensioned to where you need it, to where it'll stay on track and actually work, these are going to tighten down that so it doesn't move on you when you don't want it to move. You'll need 2 of these, 1 for each side, and it's going to be on the end that actually moves. Then you'll need, pardon, while I dig these out again, these are the wood screws for securing those brackets to the main body, or the main flat panel. Then you'll need some wood inserts and some flat bottom screws. These are flat bottom cap screws. They're actually meant for basically they're the male end of binding head screws, or sex bolts as Ben calls them. But you'll need, again, these are 1/4 20 because that's what I was able to find. But these are going to be used to secure the sanding belt to the drum. Because I'm going to have like I said, I'm going to have a notch cut out, but I'm also going to have a block of plywood that matches that notch, that these will be screwed, that these inserts will be screwed into the center of. And granted, I am going to countersink these heads so that they stay below the top of the drum so they don't interfere with the sanding. But these will secure the sandpaper to the drum so you don't have to glue it to the drum and have to make more than one drum. You can just change the paper like you would a normal drum sink. You need 2 of these. 2 inserts, 2 flat bottom screws. Those are hex head or Allen wrench keys. And you'll need, these are for the feed rollers. These are going to be the shafts. But you will need some little bitty screws and some bushing washers that are basically going to take the place of using bearings. These are actually flanged bearings basically, but it's going to make it so that the screws can turn in there. And these are, again, 1/4-20 with a, then they don't, the thread doesn't go all the way to the bottom. There's a smooth part at the bottom for this bearing to run along. Now these bearings are going to be, there's going to be holes drilled into the side frame of the feed rollers that these bearings are going to be glued into with super glue or epoxy, whatever you want to use. You don't have to use super glue, but that's what I'm using. Now, these, you're going to need 4 of them. Obviously, 1 for each end of the roller. So that, and they will be pre-installed in the little plywood inserts for the rollers. You'll obviously make the little plywood inserts, and the drill's automatically going to put a hole in that'll fit this bolt. You glue the bolt into the plywood before you put it into the tube, and then you glue the plywood into the tube so it doesn't come out or it doesn't move. That way these are preset already in there, and the bushings will be in the wood, so that'll help line up it'll help line it up when you're putting the rollers on there onto the frame. The bushings will be in the frame and the bolts will be in the rollers. So basically I'm going to show you. Now granted, I'm not going to have this in here yet for this video, but basically it'll be sticking out the end here, and it'll be sticking out about that. Crap, I dropped it. Give me a second, I'll grab another one and find that one later. But basically it'll be sticking out about that far from the roller when you have the plywood in the middle. Now, that is going to be your main drive for the feed belt or conveyor belt. Now, like I said, those will be glued into the plywood first before putting them in the pipe and gluing them into the pipe so that they're secure in place, then they're not going to move. And then you don't need to worry about the rollers once you have them attached in the frame. And then the frame is going to be 2 inches thick or tall, roughly, with a bevel cut onto one end of it. That on the end where the roller pins will be sticking out. I'm gonna call them pins because that's basically what they're gonna be. It's basically a feed roller with pins sticking out the other end that are gonna be. You're gonna attach the frame to each end after the pins are on there, and use some spacers to keep this from hitting the flat panel that the belt is going to be rolling on, so that when you put material in, it doesn't sag. You're going to have a flat piece in there. You put a spacer in to keep this so it rolls freely without hitting that flat panel. Now, that's all the main hardware. But you're also going to need a power switch, toggle switch for on-off. Now, I got this one with the lead wires already attached. Now, with the motor. Now, with the motor, for wiring it up, this one here needs an 18 gauge or 18 AWG power cord with a ground wire attached to it. Now, I don't have one with a ground wire yet, but I will have one. And basically, you want to plug it in so that this rotates this way. Well, for you, it's backwards, but say if you're looking at the motor like I am, which in this camera it's reversed, I'm looking at it, the motor's on my right. For you guys, it looks to you that I'm holding it in the left, but it's on my right. So you want the motor to spin counterclockwise. Or if you're left-handed, you can mount it the other way and have it spin the normal way, so that the motor shaft spins the opposite direction of the way you're going to feed the material in, so that it sands as the material is being fed in. Now, granted, excuse me. Now, granted, I could put a pulley system and belt on there to have the same motor run the feed belt, because they're going to rotate the same direction. The motor's going to be rotating one way and the feed belt's going to be rotating the same way, so that the material gets fed in as say, for example, I'll just show you. Say, for example, the drum is spinning this way, okay? Which, again, to me is counterclockwise for me. The way I'm looking at it, it's counterclockwise. Now, the motor's going to be spinning that way. The feed belt is going to be going in. Following that same rotation, the rollers are going to be doing the same rotation. And the rollers for the feed belt, conveyor belt, are going to be spinning the same direction as the shaft, so that it will pull the material into the shaft as it's spinning. Just like a regular sanding thickness sander would do. Now, this is being made by hand, with hand tools, some power tools. I'm going to use a jigsaw to cut out the plywood. But it shouldn't take too long to build it, as long as it's cool enough outside for me to do it. Like I said, it's 110 degrees here right now, and it's way too hot for me to do any building. That's why I'm recording this video, showing you all the parts that you'll need for it. Now, depending on whatever motor you get, this motor, like I said, I bought it at Farm and Fleet in Chicago for, I think it was like $150, brand new. I haven't used it. It's still new. It's never been used. But it says on here it's 1 horsepower with 1700, I'm rounding off, 1700 RPM. And you'll need a motor that has about 1400 to 1700 RPM. So 1 horsepower ought to do it, no matter what motor you get. But you'll need one main electric motor for the drive shaft. Now, you don't have to get the same size shaft that I have. You can get something that fits the shaft that's already there, or you can get the other kind of motor that or you can build it to where you use a pulley system like Stumpy Nubs did. Build a big old box frame for it, but I'm building an open-ended one so that I can run wide panels through there if I need to, like for an acoustic guitar. It's going to be wider than the drum itself. Now I can run the panels through there, the pieces through there individually, but once they're glued together, it's going to be wider than the drum sander. And since I don't have a planer to flatten it, that's what I need this for. Now, in regards to the Purple Heart here, there's one thing I didn't notice when I first had these panels before I glued them together, but there is a little bit of a flame pattern in here, which you can probably see a little bit right here. But I didn't even notice until after I glued it up and started sanding it that the pattern, it basically spirals around the slab now. So basically the blank, if you can see here, the flame, when I glued it, this is going to be the top right here. This side here is going to be the, well, actually it's going to be the bottom, the back side, so that the flame can be seen. This side is going to have a maple top glued to it, a curly maple top, once I recut the curly maple, because that first batch didn't turn out right. But this actually has the flame pattern to where it starts like right around here and goes down this board, goes through the middle board, back up to this outside, back over into the middle board, and then down again. There's a little section of here in this middle board where there is no flame, so it basically looks like a spiral at symbol naturally in the board here. Now, like I said, this is going to be the body, and I'm going to have it chambered with that maple top and put an F-hole. An F-hole at the top. But I still haven't decided what body shape I'm going to use yet. I might use a Les Paul shape, I might use an SG shape, but I'm going to, if I do an SG shape, I'm going to have it actually be symmetrical, unlike the actual SGs. And since I'm going to have a top to it and hollow it out so that it lightens this, because this is heavy. It's going to be too heavy for a guitar body. If making a Telecaster or Stratocaster, that's too heavy. It has to be hollowed out and a top glued onto it. And that's what I'm going to do. So I'm either going to do a Les Paul style, since I already have a template for that, or an SG style, or whatever design I decide. I haven't decided yet on that. But it's going to be a good look when it's done. Now, like I said, this video here is just showing you all the parts needed for building the drum sander. Like I said, these, you'll need these with two nuts and 2 washers, not 3 nuts. I initially had the 3 nuts because I was going to use a different way to tension it, but I realized I had those and can actually make it the way I saw it in the video. So now I will, in the comments below, put a link to the original video of the drum sander build that I saw, so that you basically know where I'm coming from on this. You'll basically know what I'm building, but doing it my own way than what he did. But it's gonna be similar. So I will link that in this video. So when I go to start building, it's probably going to be later this weekend or something. Yeah, because I got this load I have to run first, and like I said, it is too hot for me to do any building right now. So that's where I'm at right now for this video. This is just the intro to the tool build, which will be part of Great Guitar Build Off's build, because I'm going to use it for this to flatten both sides, because my handheld belt sander is not working right. I can't even change the belts because the lever broke. So I'm going to build the thickness sander to flatten both sides, so that I can glue the top to it. And then I'm going to use the drum sander to flatten the top before I put it on there. But those are all the parts needed to make your own drum thickness sander, not oscillating spindle sander. That I have a big machine already for. I just haven't opened it yet, because I'm not going to open that until I need it. And I don't need it yet until the body is cut out and ready for sanding flush. But as of right now, that's going to be it. And I'll see you when I actually start building the drum sander, because I'm going to build that before I finish the Great Guitar Build Off guitar. I'm going to do the drum sander first. That's going to be the next video that's uploaded. It might be in more than one part, or I might do it all in one video. I don't know. Depends on how much time I have to spend on it, because like I said, we got till the end of October to finish the build, and I'm nowhere near ready. All I've got so far is the body blank. That's all I've got ready. After, what, this is July now, or August, and the competition started at the beginning of April, and I paid for it 2 weeks in advance to start. I started basically in the middle of March. That's when I was initially going to start building, but not uploading videos until the actual start date. But I'm way behind, because the regular job takes up more time than I have for building the guitar. But I should be able to get this finished on time, and we'll have a video uploaded. Now, like I said, I will not be doing any voiceover on my guitar build videos until the final 45-minute video. But I'm not even going to make it 45 minutes. I'm going to condense it down so that y'all don't get bored. Like, this video is 38 minutes long so far. But I'm not going to edit this one down, because I'm recording it on my phone, and I'm going to upload it directly to YouTube. I'm not going to hook up the PC to edit it down. But anyway, I'll catch you in the next video. So this is it for now, and thank you for visiting my channel, and don't forget to hit that like and subscribe button if you like the content. Now, I'll see you in the next one. Bye.